Hi, fifth graders. Today's video is all about how to find volume. And remember, volume is the third of those big three measurements that we've been talking about. The first being perimeter, which is a measurement of all of the outside edges by adding together. The second is area, which kind of separates our shape into a grid and measures the space in between. We get that by multiplying the length times the width. And the third is volume. Volume is a measurement of how much space a three-dimensional shape takes up. So we're going to find that this isn't just the length and the width, but it's also including a third dimension of height. So there's a couple ways we can find the volume. Specifically, there are two what we call formulas, and a formula is a math rule to help us solve. The first formula says that we can take the length and multiply it by the width and then multiply it by the height in order to get the volume. A lot of times you see this shortened to volume equals L times W times H for length times width times height. Now there's a second formula that we can use as well, which is that volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. And that formula looks like this. V equals capital B, lowercase h. Now let's pause here for a second and talk about why this makes sense. I know volume is a measurement of how much space a 3D shape takes up. So in my first formula, that makes sense because I have three dimensions, length, width, and height. But in my second formula, sometimes fifth graders ask me, well, wait a second, don't I need to be measuring three dimensions? I only see two things, the area of the base and the height. Well, we know that that makes sense because the area of the base is length times width. So these first two dimensions are hidden inside this capital B. Now, the other part of this second formula that might be new to you is that there is no multiplication sign in here. That's because when we are using letters to represent or to hold the place of numbers, if we put them right next to each other, that's a signal to multiply. And that's way we don't get confused and think that the multiplication sign is actually an X holding the spot of another number. So if you see either one of these formulas, you can use them to help you solve for volume. And over the next couple days, we'll talk about examples of both of these. But first, let's look at an example with unit cubes. So remember, with unit cubes last week, we talked about with irregular shapes, you can count all of the different unit cubes. You can use that in a picture that's a true rectangular prism as well. Now I can solve this by saying length times width times height. I'm looking at my dimensions, 5 inches, 4 inches, and 3 inches, and I can put that into the formula. So I know that my length is 4 inches because it's a 4-inch long shape. My width is 5 inches because it spans 5 cubes or 5 inches across. And my height is 3 inches because it's 3 layers tall. So if I multiply that, 4 times 5 is 20, 20 times 3 is 60. I get 60 cubic inches. One way we can label volume is by the letters CU, which means cubic. That just means we've used 3 dimensions, length, width, and height. And then using the label of inches because that's what unit I'm told I'm using here. Now let's take a look at some other examples that don't use unit cubes. So this first one we're not going to solve, but I just wanted to show you that this unit cube picture could also be represented as a flat rectangular prism without the little grid lines. But you'll notice you still have the same dimensions, the 3, the 4, and the 4, as are shown in this unit cube example. So let's look at a new example that looks just like that second rectangular prism. I have dimensions of 4 feet, 12 feet, and 4 feet. So if I remember that formula, volume equals length times width times height, I can put those dimensions in. So I have 4 feet in length, I have 12 feet in width, and I have 4 feet again in height. If I multiply, 4 feet times 12 feet is going to give me 48 feet squared. And then if I multiply that again by 4, I end up with 192 feet cubed. This is the second way we can label volume by putting first whatever unit of measurement we're using, in this case feet, and then an exponent of 3. That exponent of 3 tells me that I multiplied 3 dimensions, length, width, and height. So hopefully this helps. Keep this video and the notes page that goes along with it handy as you do your practice today. And as always, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Good luck, guys. Thanks for tuning in.